For understanding how computers works, first of all, let us look at a block diagram. This is a very basic thing. Let us study it. See, this is a block diagram of a computer. Let us see the components first of all. See, this is the CPU. It is having two parts, ALU, that is arithmetic and logical unit, and control unit, CU. I'll explain their working. The next is main memory, and this is the hard disk drive which contains the data in the form of files. And this is input device like keyboard, mouse, or stylus, tablet, anything. Then this is the output device like your monitor or printer and speakers. Now let us understand their working. See, the heart of the computer is the CPU, that is central processing unit or microprocessor, or if you present day processor, if you see, that is i3, i5, i7, these processors. Now this processor will have two parts, that is arithmetic and logical unit and control unit. So what is that? Arithmetic and logical unit can perform arithmetical and logical operations, basic operations. So a computer can perform basic operations like arithmetic operations like addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division, or modulus. Then under logical operations, it can compare two numbers. So it can compare less than, greater than, or equal to, and also it can perform logical operations and, or. These are the operations, like it is written in caps, so and or, as well as not. So these are the logical operations basically. So it can perform just these basic operations, right? Then second is CU, control unit. See, there are other things connected like hard disk drive and the main memory, input device and output device for controlling all these things. Controlling means utilizing them. So for that, it is having a separate portion that is called as control unit. So its job is to utilize other resources. This is about processor. Now next thing, let us start from here. This is hard disk. Hard disk will contain files, and those files may be two types, either program files or data files. Like if you take an example, a notepad on your PC is a program file. When you open notepad, it's a program. So there is a file available. Basically, we click on some icon and the program will start. But if you look into my computers and folders, and somewhere you will find a program for notepad, and its name, file name will be notepad.exe. If you search for it, you can find this file. This is a program file. Now inside notepad, if you type something and save, then it will be saving it as a text file. So you may be saving it as my.txt file, right? So this is a program file and this is a data file. This data file is used by notepad or generated by notepad. So finally, hard disk contains two types of files, program files and data files. If you have audio files or music files or video files, all those comes under data files. And if you have a music player or like VLC player or media player, those comes under program file. So we store our program kept inside hard disk, and this is permanent storage. This will be larger in size. Then next, if suppose we want to run any program, then that program should be present inside the main memory so that CPU can execute it. So the program is brought from the hard disk to the main memory. It is brought from hard disk to the main memory. So this is a working memory or primary memory or workspace, right? So program should be brought here. Then CPU can execute the program by taking instructions line by line. So whatever the programs we run, they are brought here inside the main memory, right? Then if a program needs some data from keyboard or it has to display something on the monitor, then it can utilize this input devices or output devices. So the program may be taking something from keyboard, or it may be taking something from internet, or it may be reading something from the file. So if program needs some data, it may be getting it from here. Whatever the results generated by the program or interactivity provided by a program, that you can find it on the output device like monitor, or if any output, so it is printed on the printer. And these input and output devices are connected to the system and they have their own memory. Like I'll show it like this. This is the memory belongs to input device and this is the memory belongs to the output device. So this I will call it as input buffer. This is a buffer. This is the memory. And similarly that is output buffer. This is output buffer. So if a program has to read something from the keyboard, so it will go to this memory area and get the data from there. And if it has to print something on the monitor, then whatever it has to print, it will put it in its memory area called as buffer, output buffer. It's not that program will directly go and print something on the monitor. It will dump everything inside the frame, that is the frame buffer or output buffer, and that will appear on the screen. Now same way, whatever type is from the keyboard, that will go and fall inside the buffer. It directly doesn't enter into the program. It will go and fall into the buffer and the program can read the contents from the buffer. So this is the communication point for the device and the program running inside the main memory. Now, so that's it. One of the important things we have understood how they work all together. So once again, I repeat quickly, the programs are here. They have to be brought into the main memory for execution and CPU will execute them by executing instructions line by line. And if program requires to interact with the user, it uses input and output devices. Now, we will learn how that CPU works, how it understands, what does it mean by instruction, how it can understand instruction. So for this, let us start from the basics. See, computer works on a binary number system. What is binary system? Why it works on binary system? See, it's an electronic device. So it works on current or voltages. So voltages are trickily or logically used as binary. How? A low voltage is taken as 0 and high voltage is treated as 1. So it is just like if suppose you have a bulb, this is a bulb, right? This bulb can be off or a bulb can be either on. If it is on, then we treat it as 1. If it is off, we treat it as 0. That's all. Now, if you have seen electronic circuitry like ICs, I will draw it here. If you look at an electronic circuitry like this is an IC, right, integrated circuit. This is it is also called as a chip. You can see the photograph also. Now here I have taken the same example. Now this is an integrated circuit. It is having pins here. These are pins. This is electronic, right? Now through these pins we can pass some voltages, right? Some voltage. So in this one particular pin we can pass either low voltage or we can pass high voltage. Low voltage means 0 and high voltage is 1. Now this, it may be taking in and storing it, or it may be sending it out through this other pin, the other end. So how it works and all, we don't have to go in detail, just we have to focus on binary form, right? So this one pin can be either 0 or 1, right? So only two possibilities are there. So that's how this is binary. So we say this is a binary number system. And we call this as 1 bit. We call it as 1 bit. So this is bit. Then if I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8 bits are there. So this together 8 bits, we call it as 1 byte. So 8 binary bits. Now all these bits are zeros, means with a low voltage. So this is 0, 0, 0, 0, this is 0. Or all those 8 bits are 0, but only the last bit is 1. So this may be like this. Or some are zeros and some are ones, right? So there can be many combinations. Now 8 bits together, these are forming this pattern. They can form various patterns. Now each pattern of bits, we can take it as an instruction. Pattern of bits that is in binary form, we can take it as an instruction. How it is treated as instruction, I'll explain you. I'll remove this and explain you. See, if there is one bulb, then that bulb can be either on or off. Now, if you look at traffic signals and if you consider only one bulb there, usually we'll have 3 different lights. Let us assume there is only one bulb. That bulb is for only 2 things. It can be used only for 2 things. If it is off means you should stop. If it is on means you can go. Or other way, if you say no, if it is On means you should stop, off means you should, whatever it is, whatever you like, you can set it. So we can set the rule and we can communicate with the people that this will be the code that will be followed now. There will be only one bulb, and if it is on means you can go, if it is off means you should stop. Okay? Like this, we can use this type of codes at many places. Like suppose a officer is there in his office, so bulb is on, he's there. If it is off means he is not there, right? Or if a shop is there, bulb is on means shop is open. If bulb is off means shop is closed. So like this gives a message, this gives a codes. So same thing, electronic circuitry is having voltages 0 or 1 means on and off. Using these voltages, we can make some communication. So one bulb can give you two messages, right? Go or stop, shop is open or closed, like that. If you increase the bulbs, so let us take two bulbs. If you have two bulbs, then what are the combinations possible? With the two bulbs, both the bulbs are off, right? Or this bulb is on, or this bulb is on, or both are on. So it means this is giving four different messages. Four different messages. Two bulbs can give you together four different messages. So if you have to communicate four things with the people, then you can have two bulbs and you can set them on and off, and you should already educate the people and say that this means this means this, so and so. Like example, in an examination, if it's a multiple choice question paper, now students want to copy them, then if one of the person knows the answer, he can communicate to others. For that, they already set the codes. Like if I scratch here, it means option A. If I do it like this, rub my eyes, then it is option B. Like that, they can set the codes. Beforehand, they set the codes and they can understand it in the examination hall. So same thing. Now, similarly, we can use two bulbs for giving more messages. So if there are three bulbs, then what? If there are three bulbs, like just I'm scribbling. So 0, 0, 0. Total, how many possibilities are there? So this is 2 power 3. 8 possibilities are there. Right? So it means, what about 4 bulbs? If you have 4 bulbs, then this is 2 power 4, 16. And what if we have 8 bulbs? So 8 bulbs will be 2 power 8, that is 256. So we can have 256 different commands, 256 different messages. So that's it. So the computer system works on binary number system. These bulbs are nothing but pins, and if suppose there are 8 pins, like this is an IC, so it is just 8 pins. Now each pin you assume that it's a bulb, and that can be on and off. Total 8 pins can have different commands, like 256 different commands. So messages or commands. So in the same way, this CPU is also built upon messages that are in the form of binary, that is low voltage or high voltage, that is on and off. We'll see more on this one. I'll remove this and discuss further. So now we can say that the language of computers is binary. They understand binary language, that is in the form of zeros and ones, that is low voltage or high voltage. So all the instructions and the data, everything should be in the form of binary. So the language of the CPU is binary. So how it performs arithmetic and logical operation? It performs operation on binary number system, right? So now I can say that the language of machine or the computer is binary. But we understand decimal number system. We are not comfortable with binary number system. We prefer working in the decimal number system. So in comparison with the decimal number system, how it is equal to binary form, let us look at it a little bit. See, in decimal number system, we have the digits from 0, 1, 2, 3, so on to 9. We use these digits to form a number. Then in binary number system, there are only 2 numbers, that is zeros and ones. So anything we want to understand in the form of decimal. So in decimal form, if it is 0, then it is binary also 0. If it is 1, then it is also 1. Then in decimal, it is 2. When binary, it is 1, 0. And 3 is 1, 1. 4 is 1, 0, 0, 5 is 1, 0, 1, and so on. So this is the binary form of these decimal numbers. Now, based on decimal number system, we understand that this CPU or the arithmetic and logical unit perform operations. So it knows the instructions, it knows commands, like 0 means add. Suppose, like assume that 0 means add two numbers, 1 means subtract two numbers, 2 means multiply them. Like this, they are forming instructions. So there are some predefined instructions that are there inside that circuitry, electronic circuitry, and that is logically designed to work commands. So the commands that we already know, we have seen that it can perform arithmetic and logical operations. Those operations are given in the form of codes, and it already knows that which command means what I have to do, and we write the programs in the form of binary. So the programs must be present inside the main memory in the form of binary. So each line of program that is an instruction, CPU will take an instruction and execute it because it already knows what it has to do for which code. So like these becomes the codes as instructions for performing specific instruction. So if you study some machine language or low level language of computer system, you can understand that its instructions are in the form of binary, right? So that's all. We end here. The conclusion of this talk is how computer works on binary number system, right? And why they work on binary system? Because they are based on electronic, and in electronic signals are either 0 or 1, that is low or high. So that's how everything is built upon binary. But we don't understand binary number system. So to know how it is related to decimal number system, we should understand some number systems. In the next video, we will discuss about number systems.